This chapter is called Giants Lifting Up the World. You and I were born with special abilities. This power of rebirth that I talk about is one of them. The thing about rebirth is that it's so much more than just reawakening yourself from the death grip of defeat. It can also be about simply observing your role in each moment of life and actively making the choice to transform it into a whole new moment. Maybe one of kindness, one of generosity, of empathy, of love, or of courage. We have the superpower of awareness, and if we develop it every day, we unleash a strength of mind and heart that enables us to pay it forward each step of the way. I would love for each of you and each of us to consider this. For every person that pays you a small and simple act of kindness, pay that forward to someone else that same day. And for every moment of luck that the universe or God bestows upon you, pay that forward to someone new or to the universe to give to someone new that day. We should never take without giving. It is the law of nature itself that there will always be a balance to things. The next time you are offered something, remember this: for if we take without giving, we inevitably risk nature restoring that balance with someone else, and possibly in a less positive way. The ripple effects of that choice will over time find their way back to you, affecting you in a less positive way when you least expect it or need it to. Be the good karma that you are wishing to attract. Let us learn together how to be our better selves daily by starting small every day until we're giants lifting up the world together. Step into the minds of the people around you. Remember that it is through empathy and rebirth that we can begin to heal the world and those within it from the ways that they have been suffering. So, some of my thoughts after reading this that I want to share is I'm not sure if I believe in karma, or if I do, I'm still excogitating on my philosophy on that, if I do or not. So I have a lot of different philosophies and thoughts about that. So not sure if I do, but I put that in there because I know that some people do. You know what I mean? And I want those people to be able to connect with what I'm saying. Now, something I will say is that what I've kind of been learning recently, especially through my recovery process, is that it really does feel like we need to focus on ourselves first. And for the longest time, I used to think that focusing on myself or working on myself solely was selfish or narcissistic. And I've been able to understand better being in therapy and working to heal these really big wounds of mine from my past, that there's a difference, a very, very big difference between selfishness in a sense that's negative or harmful to the people around you, and harmful to yourself too, in terms of like stroking your ego into a narcissistic place, and self-care. And that's what I'm talking about, is the selfishness that is self-care. I've, for so long that I can remember, I have had this deep, deep desire to help the world. But I never knew how that could be possible. I didn't grow up with the kind of resources or the kind of networks to really do very much. And that always made me feel very low. I would very much judge myself for that, because doing things like art or painting felt childish sometimes compared to like what people in the world really need. And I understand a lot better now that it's not childish. Art and creativity and creative intelligence is extremely important to this world, even more so during times of low spirit. Maybe more so, because art is what infuses the reignition of life, aka your spirit, your sense of spirit, and can reinvigorate that and reinvigorate you into action. And it's very, very, very important. However, I never knew how I could help. I had ideas, but I really struggled because my suffering or my struggles specifically made it feel like I just wasn't able to be in a position to actually give back. And it always takes me to that airplane analogy where, before you can help someone, you have to put on your oxygen mask first. And I know that's a very cliche analogy that people go to, but it really does paint a very clear and straightforward picture about like self-care. How can we help the world if we have not fully helped ourselves? How can we help another person if we're still in a place where we need our own attention? Hurt people can't be going out there and helping guide people if they have not guided themselves in some way to heal, because then that advice or that help might not necessarily be what that person needs. So I realized that, like, in my recovery, my therapy, that self-care needs to come first. If we can heal ourselves, our wounds, our traumas, if we can heal the painful things that we've been through and how it's affected our mind, like if it's developed things within us such as perfectionism or codependency, for example, then we're not going to be in a position where we're able to really support other people in the best way, or in the way that they need, not in the way we think they need. And that's very important. How can we help the world when we are struggling to understand it because we are struggling to understand ourselves and struggling to understand what our needs are, what our desires, our wants, our preferences are, what our boundaries are, understanding all these fundamental parts of ourself helps us understand humans outside ourselves way, way better. It also develops our empathy, our ability to not just sympathize with somebody, but to empathize, to really put yourself in their position, in their feelings, and experience a little bit of what they may possibly be experiencing. And then to ask questions, that are unguided by the ego, but are more, how can I help you? What do you need? Do you know what you need? I have some ideas. Do any of these work for you? So, and I bring all that up because I see a lot of people nowadays rushing out, joining communities, and trying to help the world in ways. But I realize that in a weird way, I don't know if I believe that we're ready for communities, because with the rise of narcissism or narcissistic traits in people, it's clear that people's egos are kind of being stimulated or egged on, or given room to grow more, which is not the healthiest thing, makes people very self-centered. And how are we supposed to build a community, maintain a community, let go of narratives so that way that community can be all encompassing? How can we build a community of human beings, of a world filled with this species of consciousness? How can we do that if we're so caught up in our own pain, our own narratives, our own stories, or our own specific communities that we belong to or tell ourselves we belong to because we can relate with them on X, Y, and Z? That's wonderful, and sometimes that's necessary. But when I think of the bigger picture, I don't believe that that's what it is. I don't believe it's us segregating ourselves into little groups that we have membership to. For instance, like I'm gay, so I would technically have a membership to like the gay community, but I don't prescribe to that kind of stuff anymore. I used to. I don't like prescribing to that stuff anymore because in each of those segregated communities there is a very dominant narrative. And in order to be part of that community, you have to subscribe to those dominant narratives, or you're not part of it, or you're kicked out. That's not community. That's cultish in a way. So I don't really like that kind of stuff. I think it's good and it's healthy every once in a while to really connect with people that you can relate with on those small aspects of yourself. But they're small. They are. Everything that makes me who I am, for example, has very, very little to do with the part of myself that is gay. And it's not to say that one is less or greater than. It's just understanding like these are all, like understanding your whole umbrella of who you are and how we weave in and out of that. You know what I mean? We have all these different aspects of ourselves, these sub personalities, all these things. And when we give more of our time and attention to just one aspect of ourselves, that's not development. That's not full self awareness and growth. That's segregation. You're even segregating yourself mentally into just one main aspect of your identity and yourself. That's not an example of true self-awareness. And I'm no expert on that, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Um, this is just what I feel like I've been learning or understanding. So I think what's really important is we need to heal ourselves first. We need to work on ourselves first to grow ourselves. And as we grow and become giants, in the sense of like feeling good about who we are, understanding our purpose or defining that for ourselves, realizing our potential to make the world a better place. It doesn't mean utopia, because that in and of itself is flawed. Utopia according to who? Everyone's going to have a different definition of that. So utopia really wouldn't be utopia. But just recognizing like, okay, I have some gifts or I have some things about who I am that are strengths or virtues that the world could really benefit from. The people in the world could really benefit from. And understanding that comes with understanding yourself a lot better. The more I'm understanding who I am and what I went through and healing that and working through that and correcting the areas where I get it wrong, all that does is just expand my self-awareness. It expands my consciousness, and it opens these new doors to understanding not just what my purpose is, but the importance of living up to that purpose, the importance of living up to your potential. it's not about, like, for myself, it's not about making music to just make music anymore. I used to do it like that. It's about understanding, okay, these are my gifts. What can I do with them that will benefit other people in this world, including myself? You know, it has to be a balance, you know, or at least that's what I think. My opinions of things are subject to change as I grow and develop new understandings of things. So don't ever hold me to some of the stuff that I share, because they may change or they may not. Um, but if any of this really does resonate with you or help you, then that's wonderful. And that's kind of why I've been pushing myself to start doing stuff like this, like reading chapters of my book that I haven't published yet, and being a little bit more revealing of what my thoughts and feelings are about stuff, to help whoever is out there that may need to hear it or think about it or be challenged by it, whatever it may be. So, yeah, so if we grow ourselves and our self awareness, we're going to be going from feeling small to coming into our giant self. Uh, and when we're doing that and other people are doing that, then we are all giants together, and we're lifting the world in the sense of living to our potential, living to our purpose, and making sure we utilize that in a way that doesn't just help us, but it helps the people of the world. So that's kind of what that chapter is really saying. I hope this helps, and I'm so grateful and I'm so appreciative of everybody that has been watching my videos, supporting my music as well. I really hope you are getting something from this, and I'm just grateful for lending me your ears and your heart and your mind. And yeah, thanks.